Let it in, dear God, let it in.
Welcome to another episode of All Things 80s with Garrett, and I'm Garrett. We're back on location in Burgow, North Carolina. We're at the Pender County Courthouse. This is episode 3 of the filming locations of Then and Now for Silver Bullet. Here the Reverend, after his nightmare of a dream he has about the werewolves attacking him inside the church, he goes, "Please God, stop." And I know at this point in time you're probably like, "Come on Garrett, let's end this filming location video series." So here we are, we're gonna wrap things up for the filming location for Silver Bullet. This is the location right here, this is the spot. This is where Marty and Jane tell Uncle Red about what they've been doing, sending the letters to Lester Lowe. Right over there is the drugs. That's where Jane was putting the letters in the mailbox. This is where the mailbox would have been about right here. I think we see this same light up above the top of the everything is these drugs, this corner. This is where Jane would have mailing Marty's letters. Back in '84 when this was filmed, there would have been a bench here. You could see the sidewalk, both sidewalks. There were a ton of trees behind me. They've taken out a lot of trees. I mentioned this in the first video. They're taking out a lot of trees here in front of the Burgow or the Pender County Courthouse. But this is the location, this is the spot, this is where they were talking to them. But this is one of the, there's a lot of funny scenes in Silver Bullet, but this is another funny scene. It's a good time to talk about, in the script, in the story, the character is Uncle Al, not Uncle Red. I love Gary Busey, and he does a wonderful job in this role. And I like the fact they changed it to Uncle Red and not Uncle Al. I think Uncle Red sounds a whole lot better. They're talking to him, and there's two great lines in this scene. One is Uncle Red, Gary Busey says, "You want to know what I think about this?" Corey Haim's sitting about right here in his wheelchair, and he's like, "No, we just come here to look at your pretty little face." And that still cracks me. That just makes me laugh every time I hear it.
You want to know what I think?
No. I just called you out here to admire your pretty little face.
You better watch your mouth right now. You're on thin ice with me, son.
And then the other great line is Gary Busey standing right about, probably right here somewhere, and he says, he goes, "I'm a little too old to be playing Hardy Boy meets Reverend Werewolf." That's another great line in the film. And I'm trying to get my friend Chris for the Midnight Movie Stat Podcast to make a T-shirt. I know there's probably some copyright issues with the Hardy Boys and putting that on the T-shirt, but that's a really funny scene. We're right across the street from Harold's. I mentioned this before. This is from I Know What You Did Last Summer, and this is where Sarah Michelle Gellar is the one who's running, and she runs right there to the front door. Like I said, I mentioned this in one of my videos before, but this is the same spot. This is the same, and even then, in the 90s, 97, you could tell there's a lot more trees here on the courthouse square here at the Pender County Courthouse. We're gonna go to our next location.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Just forget it. It's crazy. You see your suspect yet, Marty?
Yes.
And this is the view that we would have started out with when Uncle Red and Marty and Jane are casing out, and we would have seen Reverend Lowe right there. And the sign would have been there, the church sign, and then over to the right there, he'd have been painting on the Metco dollar sign thing right there. So this would have been the site of the side of the sign right there. It would have said Tucker's Mill Christian Church. And then over here would have been where the Metco thing, where Reverend Lowe was painting it. And now this is where everybody was lined up with the cars all in the yard for the funeral. All right, this is Zion United Methodist Church at night. This is when Sheriff Holler, after Uncle Red goes to see Sheriff Holler and tell him his suspicions about Reverend Lowe, this is where he comes in. He's going to check things out. And I do not know why he came at night, why he didn't wait till the next day, but this is where he goes. You can kind of see, I think there was a cross on top of the church at the time, up there, maybe on the steeple. It looks down this way. And then it goes to the garage that was right here. And this is really cool to be out here at nighttime. It's kind of has a spooky feel to it, but this is the last time that we see the Peacemaker. And it beats right here. So last time the Peacemaker is seen in Silver Bullet. Pretty cool being out here at night. You can't see the moon, but it is a full moon tonight as well. Really cool. So we're at Pender Memorial Park here in Burgaw. This is the baseball scene where Marty has a little time of reflection. He's sitting out here outside the fence watching the other kids play baseball. He's sitting on the new vamped up super Silver Bullet. But you can tell he's watching other kids play baseball and run and play and catch the ball and throw it back in, and you can kind of tell that that's kind of the set that he's having a little bit of time of reflection or whatever, just missing being out, trying to miss being a kid. And I think it's cool that they actually had that moment in the movie where he's just not all the time up and happy and everything is completely normal, even though I think that's great that they showed that he is fully functional in every other regard in the movie. He's on this back fence. This is the main fence, and you can see there's a couple shots that you can tell the sign. You can see the sign through the behind home plate in the movie. Me and my youngest son, Dylan, are out here throwing in the same spot. This is the same area as where Marty was watching. Marty was watching right out there in this part of it, and this is the dugout that you see. It's about cut in half, but you can see the sign briefly in the background on one of the scenes. But all right, Dylan, throw me one, buddy. Nice, good deal. So having a little fun out here today, doing a little filming, and also getting to play on the same field as Silver Bullet. It's kind of cool. I think this is almost like the same dugout and the same announcer box, whatever you want to call it, in the dugouts. I think that's the same bathroom, concession stand. But back here is different. You can see this just for a second. There's these old time stands right back here in this area. They're gone. They put another field back here. There was a white building, which you see where the Reverend Lester Lowe comes up and looks at Marty. He's stalking him out. He's back on this backside. But they put another field behind there. This has all been developed, and obviously a lot more baseball, softball fields added since 1984 when this was filmed. But he would have stalked Marty. Marty was asked by one of the kids if he wanted to go to Robertson's, which is the Dixie Grill in Wilmington. But they go down this driveway, and there's a lot more, I think, and that's why I said there was a lot of woods, tree line going down that way, and it goes out, and we go over to Shaw Highway next, and that's where the chase over one bridge and then down to the covered bridge. So we just filmed at Pender Memorial Park where the baseball field is, and this is where, you don't see this, but this is where Lester Lowe follows Marty on the Silver Bullet. To get to Shaw Highway where that scene is filmed, you go right over the interchange here of 40, and this is where Maximum Overdrive, this is the embankment down there where the truck blows up there, and this is where the Dixie Boy sign would have been on your left, right there, and then right down there is where, that's also where Deke would have ended up there when the plane comes by. We're headed to Shaw Highway next. I just want to let you show the Armando and the Maximum Overdrive, all that connection here. We're on Shaw Highway. This is where Marty would have turned with a Silver Bullet. We're a long ways from the Coslaw house in actuality, but we're headed toward the covered bridge. So a lot of people want to know, want to see it. This is where Lowe would have followed them. Came right down here on Shaw Highway. You can kind of see Lester, Armando does this thing with the rearview mirror again. There's a church here, but you don't see the church. You see a little bit of some bushes that they had right here on the corner. There was a sign that would have said one-lane bridge. Would have saw kind of Wildlife Resource Commission on the left side of Marty. We would have got the angle like this. So here's the first bridge that comes across. And this bridge has been changed. It's been updated, but that's right. It's like a wood rail bridge on either side, and Lowe was trying to hit them and went past them, turned around, came back, tried to hit them again, and Marty was back and forth. And finally, he gets away. And again, looks like the landscape I told you had been changed on the left side, but this right side looks a lot like it would have in the movie. All the trees. This is where, looking back, he's chasing them. You probably see Lester looking out his car and going around this bend, and we're going to come up on here in a second, where Marty does a quick yank to the left. So we're still around this bend, so we're going to get there. So right here, Marty just sort of said, covered bridge ahead, the road's dangerous, been shut down. Does a sharp turn, right here. And then it's like showing this way, speeds down this way. Now what's wild is that the covered bridge is actually back on Shaw Highway, but this makes for a good chase scene right here. It goes around in here, and it's not as long in the movie, obviously, until you get to, it makes another right turn onto a dirt road. So Marty comes around this bend. This is a dirt. Now this is a dirt road. The Shaw Highway was not where the covered bridge is, but I'll show you. That second. It comes around here. Takes a wide turn left. Comes spinning, coming around this way. Comes down this road right here, and he hightails it down this, and this is where like the music has a little, even a happier theme to it when he's rolling down this driveway right here. Then he comes up on the covered bridge, but in reality the covered bridge is where we turned. It's a little bit further down Shaw Highway, and we're going to go take a look at it right now. This is the bridge, the next bridge on Shaw Highway. If you would have kept past the first bridge, keep going. If you didn't make that left turn, this is where the covered bridge would have been built. We're gonna take a look. This is where the tractor would have came out at the end of that scene. We're gonna pull over here to the side and go take a look. So this is looking back from the direction of where Marty would have came running through the covered bridge. It was set on top. It was built on top of this bridge. This bridge has been replaced. It was just like the bridge that was that the first scene was. My nephew works for. He replaces these kind of bridges all over the state. Does it in South Carolina, North Carolina. My theory was that this was a movie prop, and he totally agreed after seeing the pictures and knowing about how the bridges was, and he could. There's a lot of technical stuff that he sent me through text that I can try to add in if I can. Look in the video description when I'll try to put it in there. Basically, the bridge had a rail, so you wouldn't need a rail if you had a covered bridge, and that was the theory when I saw it anyway. But Joe, my nephew, was saying that that was probably just used. They used that just to help a natural support. Like I said, it was just a movie prop, just a structure, set up. And you can look down here. Here, let's take a look at the side. There's one angle from down there. I got some boots. I may put them on to go look. But this thing would have came, I mean, they could have built it over this one, and then it would have also, you see how the water comes, but they would have had this thing, this was a long bridge, and it would have been all the way down. This is the area that Lester Lowe would have came from this way. Great scene when Corey Haim's inside the bridge, and Lester is explaining himself about why he can't commit suicide, and tells him that he was helping the people. And
By killing her, I took her physical life, but I saved her life eternal. You see how all things serve the will and the mind of God. You see, you meddling little shit! You're gonna have a terrible accident, Marty. You're gonna fall in the river.
this was right here on this bridge. It looks like a dirt road or whatever, but we were talking about that in with Joe, and he said it wouldn't be hard to put down some dirt over the edges over there and put some pine straw down, and just right there. And this is where the tractor, when he calls,
Mr. Zimmerman! Help me! Please! Help me! Mr. Zimmerman! Please!
he calls for him. He comes out from the left there with the tractor. That's when Lester Lowe gets in his car and drives off. Let's just take a look over, just kind of show you. And let's go back to the other side. And obviously some work was done on this to make it, it's been up, I mean, this has actually been updated since the older bridge. The older bridge probably was built in the 40s or 50s. That's what Joe said. And so it was updated probably in the 90s to the early 2000s. All right, we're back at Greenfield Park. This is the scene where the kids talked to Uncle Red about the silver bullet, about wanting him to take their silver pendant medallions and fix whatever and turn it into a silver bullet. But this is the location. If it wasn't for I forgot what that stuff is called over there, the tall grass and the water, whatever that is, you could see the trees. There we go. In the water, same, but they're still there. This is the view. This is the cross. You can see across the lake, and there's some seagulls are out there as well today on the some birds on the lake. But you can see across. It wasn't as sunny as it is today. It's a little more windy. Maybe about the same time frame. Looks like the leaves were off the trees, and you can see across the lake. And maybe that's about the location of where that bench was, where they were sitting, right here. Here's a view a little bit closer. What we saw, you can see the trees at the bottom there. And then that's where you see, I think there's this bench right here. In the background, you could see, behind Marty's head, this building right here. You see the top of it. But this is about the spot where they would have been. And you see some of these clusters of trees as well behind Marty and Jane when they're talking to Uncle Red right here.
Will you do it?
Stay.
He goes to Mac's gun shop. This was a hard location to find. We don't have much to go on except there's 1365 was on the outside of the building. This is the location of where it would have been, right here. And let me kind of give you the backstory. We're right next to the Wilmington Airport. Here you see Control Tower Road, and Mac's gun shop set. It was called Pittman's Gun Shop. And it was set right here, right on Google Maps. It shows it down there on the corner. That's where I went originally on that corner right there, and that's where it shows up on Google Maps. You put 1365 North Carr Avenue. I had to go to the library and look up to an old 80s phone book, and I've looked up gun shop, and sure enough, it's called Pittman's Gun Shop. The location was here, and I had to use historical aerials to figure out where the location was. It actually set right here on this corner, right where the curve of this road right here in front of me. This was here, this fence, and you see this fence. It may have been repainted, it may have been redone, but you see it for a brief second. The building came out to right on this road was not here. The actual gun shop set, or maybe came out a little bit past there, and it came out into the road area here would have been, and down a little bit to this tree line right over here. It was a pretty big sized building, and where my car is right there, this was a road that went straight right through here and went right up to this gate was here, and you can see when Uncle Red gets out of the car, he tells the kids to stay inside. You see it briefly. You see where this was like an old dirt road, and it actually would have been, the building would have actually set out here, so it would have, this little entry would have been going this way. But you see a glimpse of the corner of the shot of the fence. Of course, there was a lot more wooded at that time frame. There were more woods right here. This road was not here at the time, but this road here going up to whatever this is up here was here. And so there was a roundabout. So it came in. There was actually a road that went straight to there, and then there was a roundabout that came out in front of the building. And on the other side of these trees right here to the right, it would have came back. It would have went back out to the road there to North Carr Avenue. And this would have been a big gravel dirt, looked like from historic aerials, looked like it was a big gravel dirt area for where people could park. The building was sold a little bit late, a couple years after this movie, but this is what location I was excited about. Talking to a new friend of mine, TD. He's been contributing a lot of stuff to the Stephen King Silver Bullet Facebook group, and he found this location a couple years ago. Did it the same way I just did it. Went to the library, looked up. He went on the same hunch. All we had was 1365. It never been published, and that's what I told my good friend Nick, who does the Fast Rewind, and that's a great resource I use a lot as well for finding locations. You know what I call this, unearthing a film location, or we can say we found it or whatever. But here's the deal: someone always knows. There was a film crew that was here at one point. So there's someone on the building, actors, directors. Somebody always knows. If we're the first one to do it, that's great. But someone already knows the location. But it's always fun to find it. I'll give credit. TD found it, and a couple years ago, and then this never got published. So TD, man, this is for you, man. Like I said, it's always cool when you can find a new location for a movie. It's fun to do, and this is a great movie. And this is a really great scene too.
Nicest piece of work I ever done, I think. It's got a low grain load, so it won't tumble. Ought to be pretty accurate.
Oh, well, shit, it's just a gag. I mean, what the heck you gonna shoot a 44 bullet at anyway? Made out of silver.
How about a werewolf?
So we are at a possibility of the Coslaw house and Silver Bullet. This is right off Market Street. The address for the house was, I think it was 5131 Market Street. This was not developed, obviously, at the time, and the house is gone, long gone by now. I think the house got moved and not tore down. That'd be great if we could ever find the location of where the house got moved to. But this is a possibility. Somebody said this could be one of the trees. It does look similar to the tree next to the house. I did see in one comment from Mark Rhodes, who lived in the house when shooting was going on, he said he thought his house was closer to where the target was, which makes it further on down. But either way, it's like we're on the property that the Rhodes family owns, and that they leased out to the movie and let them use their house. It's really cool just to be here. Even having some of this, even if this is not the tree next to the house, there's some other trees back over here that these trees were on the property, and this is the location of where the Coslaw house was. This is where the Silver Bullet, where Corey Haim took off his Marty on the Silver Bullet and rode it around, came back. This is where they came back in from town, from the courthouse, from the picnic, and different times when Uncle Red drove him home and gave him the fireworks before he snuck out of the house and went out to the bridge and encountered the werewolf. This is just cool to be here. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. It's been a really cool experience. I'll give you one little more tidbit. When I was in college, there's an intersection right over there, and I lived right down that road, probably a quarter of a mile in apartments down there. I could have and should have walked over here back in the early 90s, and maybe I would have saw this place before it got moved or taken away. That's my own fault there, but oh well, it's shoulda, coulda. Saw this view right here, they're driving up, and this is the big tree. Out here, now this was not developed at all at the time, and there was some kind of building over there where Chick-fil-A is. You could see there's some building that way. The driveway would have been probably right in front of that pickup truck right there. This is kind of where the area would have been coming to the house. This is the area, this is the complex where the house used to be. And I wasn't certain that this tree was still the one from in front of the house, but a guy named Sawyer Smoke, and who I actually got to meet him today earlier. We got a chance to hang out down at Greenfield Park, and Sawyer is the one who said, he goes, I think that is actually the same tree. I went and looked at historical aerials, and you switch between 1982, 83, and and you could see the layout of you can see the house, you can see the layout of the road, and you look at 2000. I think the 2018, 2019 is the most latest historical aerial, and you can see the tree is still this tree right here is right. So they saved it. It's right here. I want to thank Sawyer Smoke again for making me look at this location, for suggesting that I look at this location, that this is definitely where the house was in Silver Bullet. I want to thank the guys on the Facebook page, the Stephen King Silver Bullet Facebook fan page. The guys, especially T. Wolf, man, you guys are great. What you've found some of the locations on this movie, and I want to thank my friend Nick Alloway from Fast Rewind. He's always been of a big assistance to me, and I appreciate his website on all things, on all movies, 80s. Thank Chris Turner, my friend, who does the Midnight Movie Snack podcast with me. He's the one who designed the shirts. We've got a podcast on this episode. Hopefully I can interview the guys from the Facebook group page, and they have that episode next October. That'd be really cool. Grown Up James says, I couldn't always say that I loved you, Marty, but I love you, Marty, now. Corey Haim just had his birthday would have been on the 23rd. That just a few days ago. He would have turned 50 years old. So Corey Haim, man, we miss you, we love you, and I want to thank everybody for watching the last episode here of Filming Locations of Silver Bullet. I hope you liked it. Hit like if you did. Hit subscribe. Leave some comments below as usual, and I'll see you on the next episode of All Things 80s with Garrett.
Subscribe.